I'll add my little whatever.
How about we take that pitch? Go ahead. That's perfect.
Sounds amazing.
You told me to play a B-flat scale. What do you mean sounds amazing? Okay, that's not gonna work. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
And it's front and center.
The camera and the mic. Wow. Great spot.
You're literally in direct frame.
A little pressure.
Front and center there.
Well, your posture better be perfect.
I feel like an imposter. I don't play the
Gabby's all over the idea.
I'm not even playing right
It's
now.
white. No, it's right.
No, but it's
Say it's so.
But it's white. That fits the colors, Gab.
I'm just trying to help, but it can't be happening.
You're making me all stressed. He's gonna say ready play, and this is not gonna be on.
Send you home if you're not ready.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to blur out your face.
You know what? We're dealing Because your power is
they going to tell me when to start?
No, it's
Ready?
Oh, whenever.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharon Lasher, and I am the very proud principal of Oyster Bay High School. I would like to welcome you to our 5th annual Field of Honor ceremony. This has become a tradition in our school and in the Oyster Bay, East Norwich community at large. As the daughter of a veteran who served in the United States Armed Forces, I am so proud to be part of a community who recognizes our veterans and understands and appreciates the importance of the service each has provided to our country. I would like to thank Dr. Joe Pesquera and Mr. Kevin Leach for organizing this wonderful event. Thank you, Mr. Sissia, for providing us with musical entertainment, something we miss terribly. And special thanks to Mike Rispoli, who, as always, along with his crew, prepares our grounds for this event. While we are living through extremely challenging times right now, and our format for this event is different than it has been in the past, nothing will stop us from recognizing the men and women who have served our country. At this time, I would like to call up Mr. Leach to continue with our Field of Honor ceremony. Thank you, and thank you all.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your attentiveness, respect, and cooperation. Throughout Oyster Bay's history, many of our community members have served our country in numerous situations of armed conflict. The service to our community and our country has not gone without sacrifice by their families. We are here today to honor and remember our local heroes who have touched countless lives in so many ways. The brave men and women who have served in the armed forces did so to protect us and ensure the freedoms that we enjoy today. On this day, the 10th of November 2020, we are honored to welcome you to Oyster Bay High School for our celebration of Veterans Day with our annual Field of Honor. At this time, we ask that you please rise so we can honor America as we welcome the Oyster Bay High School Wind Ensemble under the direction of Mr. Matthew Sissia as they perform our national anthem. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Gabriella Treble, President of Interact, who will introduce Oyster Bay's Field of Honor.
During these unprecedented times, myself and members of the Interact Club, with the support of Dr. Pesquera, decided it was important now more than ever to celebrate our nation's heroes. As a token of our appreciation for the services and sacrifices rendered to our nation, we have created a Field of Honor here at Oyster Bay High School. Members of the community have adopted a flag and written heartfelt messages to go along with them. The funds used to purchase these flags will be donated to the American Legion as well as the AMVETS. These flags represent our gratitude for our veterans and their unmatched bravery, selflessness, and dedication to us and our country. I would like to share a few of these moving sentiments. One message reads, "Thank you to our veterans for your service to our country and protecting us. Continued prayers are said for you and your families. As we watch the flag swaying against the sky, we remember the sacrifices that were made for us to have our freedom, and we join in wishing you a happy Veterans Day." And another reads a quote by J.K. Chesterton. "The true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him." On a personal level, I have members of my family, both past and present, who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Although I never got to meet my grandfather on my dad's side, he was an active member of the United States military for the entirety of World War II. Currently, I have members of my family serving in the U.S. Navy. The respect I have for my family members, as well as every other soldier, past and present, is unmatched. They are my role models, and I hear their voices in my head with everything I do. To honor and thank our veterans, the Oyster Bay High School Field of Honor will proudly be displayed until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Leach back to the podium to introduce our guests.
Thank you. Today we have the honor of having veterans present from the American Legion and AMVETS. The American Legion was chartered and incorporated by Congress in 1919 as a patriotic veterans organization devoted to mutual helpfulness. It is the nation's largest wartime veterans service organization committed to mentoring youth and sponsorship of wholesome programs in our communities, advocating patriotism and honor, promoting strong national security, and continued devotion to our fellow service members and veterans. AMVET's mission statement is to enhance and safeguard the entitlements for all American veterans who have served honorably and to improve the quality of life for them, their families, and the communities where they live through leadership, advocacy, and services. At this time, I would ask that the members of the American Legion and AMVETS to stand. Please join me in thanking these very special members of our community. Thank you to all of our veterans here today. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Pescara to come to the podium and share a little bit about our faculty members who have served.
Good afternoon. Veterans Day is a time in which we, as Americans, put aside our differences to recognize and thank those that have served for our country. Their willingness to serve, protect, and sacrifice enables us to freely express those differences. Oyster Bay High School is proud to have two of our very own servicemen and women working here in our community. At this time, I would like to acknowledge these individuals. Mr. Patrick Husner, French teacher at Oyster Bay High School. And with us today, Ms. Sandia Quackenbush, social studies teaching assistant at Oyster Bay High School. Ms. Quackenbush served in the United States Navy from 2014 to 2018. From 2014 to 2016, she served as an operations specialist on the USS Mahan. She was responsible for training 30 shipboard sailors in damage control trainings, ensuring the ship stayed 100% mission ready. She also helped to certify the ship for its 2016 deployment in her role as the repair locker leader. After changing duty stations, she maintained a leadership position as the leading petty officer at the Naval Station Norfolk, the world's largest naval base. From 2016 to 2018, she oversaw base operations and was responsible for $400,000 worth of equipment dedicated to maintaining Naval Station Norfolk. During President Trump's visit to the base for commissioning on the newest carrier, the USS Ford, she delegated teams of sailors working around-the-clock shifts to ensure the base maintenance, saving the Navy over $180,000. On behalf of the Oyster Bay High School community, I'd like to thank you for your service. Our special guest today is Reginald Butt. Mr. Butt is a product of Oyster Bay High School, class of 1956. He joined the Navy 4 days after high school and stayed on active duty until 1976. At that time, he transferred to Fleet Reserve for 10 years until 1986. While in the service, Mr. Butt furthered his education and got a job as a simulation engineer, project engineer, and in program management, where he helped to design and build simulators for the United States government. He continued this work for 25 years until his retirement. At this time, I would like to introduce our special guest to the podium, Mr. Reginald Butt.
Good afternoon. 7 decades ago, in 1950, brave Americans defended a far-off land that was under attack. For 3 years, they fought what many still call the Forgotten War. We are here to remember. We are here to honor not just those brave Korean War veterans, but all who have served in the U.S. military since our country's founding. Jack Sauter served in the U.S. Navy during the Korean War. Many years later, he wrote in the American Legion magazine that he had doubts whether the outcome of the war was worth the cost of lives and treasure. But after the war, he was greeted in his New York office by a Korean immigrant. "I was very young when the war started," she told him in an emotionally cracked voice. "We lived on the Han River, just south of Seoul. My family walked to Busan. Thank you for saving my country." Sauter said his encounter with that woman put his last doubt to rest. It was worth it. Regardless of how one feels about policies that lead to war, let there be no doubt that veterans serve with honor. They serve to make better for others. They preserve our freedom. Not all veterans have seen war, but a common bond that they share is an oath in which they express their willingness to die defending this nation. Perhaps most significant in preserving our way of lives are the battle that America does not have to fight, because those who wish harm slink away in fear of the Coast Guard cutter, the Navy aircraft carrier, the Air Force fighter squadron, the Marine Corps fire team, or the Army soldier on patrol. We are excited to add a new group of people to the rank of veterans, the men and women of the United States Space Force. We can be secure at home because we have brave warriors protecting us in the air, at sea, on land, and beyond our atmosphere. In addition to foreign adversaries, many veterans have to battle invisible threats to their mental health and well-being. More than 20 veterans a day take their own lives. Only those who experience firsthand horrors of combat can understand why so many of these young men and women feel compelled to take such drastic and permanent measures. The U.S. Army recently reported a 30% increase in suicide among its active duty troops in 2020. We must do everything possible to stop these needless deaths. The American Legion has instituted a buddy check program in which we encourage our members to regularly communicate with our fellow veterans, see if they need help, offer your hands in friendship. Those of us gathered here to observe Veterans Day have already indicated our support for the outstanding men and women who served our country. Tell veterans directly that you love them, that you appreciate them, and that you are grateful for their service. We are their friends, their family, their co-workers, and their neighbors. It is up to us to ensure that every veteran feels that his or her service to his country is appreciated by their fellow veterans. There are many tangible ways that we can acknowledge their sacrifice, but the easiest is simply to say, thank you for what you have done for our country. If he is showing signs of unhappiness or depression, encourage him to seek help through the VA immediately. If she had difficulty obtaining the benefits that she is entitled to, let her know that the American Legion has thousands of trained service officers nationwide that will help her navigate the bureaucracy free of charge. And if that veteran has made the supreme sacrifice, remember the price that has been paid for our freedom and offer your support to the loved ones left behind. Remember how occasions like this started. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, November 11th, 1918, the guns stopped. It was a moment to be celebrated as the largest and deadliest war up until that time came to a merciful end. We still celebrate that moment, only today we call it Veterans Day. War is never anything to celebrate, but peace is. The peace in between these horrific wars is brought to you mainly by our veterans. The sacrifices brought forth during these wars is also made mostly by our veterans. That does not mean others don't suffer. Civilians are often killed, and nobody understands sacrifice more than our Gold Star families. We honor our fallen on Memorial Day, although the American Legion remembers them every day. Veterans Day, however, is for all who served. While many veterans are humble, there is no such thing as insignificant military service. It is why the American Legion only requires a single day of honorable military service to join our ranks. We understand that isn't just the sacrifice and service are important, but the willingness to offer your life in defense of this nation that sets veterans apart. Veterans Day is an important but symbolic way of saying thanks. But we should insist that our elected officials produce meaningful laws and public policies that will enhance the quality of life for veterans and their families. The American Legion is dedicated to remember the legacy of all veterans because what these men and women have done for us. It all matters to America. It matters that the people overseas who were liberated from tyranny due to the sacrifices of our military members. From defeating communism, fascism, imperialism, to liberating slaves, keeping the peace during the Cold War, and battling terrorism today, veterans have accomplished remarkable things throughout our nation's history. If you're an employer, give extra weight to the experience and skills of the sail-to-turn job applicant. Veterans' preference is a requirement for government jobs, but it's also smart business for the private sector as well. When American Legion auxiliary member asks for a donation for a poppy, remember the World War II veteran in a hospital bed. When a member of Commerce complains that the cost of compensating Vietnam War veterans for Agent Orange exposure, remind that lawmaker of the cost of being a veteran. In spite of the sacrifices that nearly all veterans have made, the horrors that some have experienced, the overwhelming majority are proud to have served. 19th century British philosopher John Stuart Mill summed up the necessity of the special group of people when he wrote, "War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed state of morale and patriotic feelings which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature that has no chance of being free, unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself." Mill had it right. Fortunately for us, America has been blessed throughout its history by many such men and women. Thank you for having us here today. Thank you for honoring the veterans. God bless America, and God bless our veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Butt. In a few moments, we will have a moment of silence followed by the playing of taps performed by Olivia Silver, Noah Rudnett, Craig Menino, Michael Masnio, and Michael Pinella, under the direction of Matthew Sissia. During this time, a veteran's wreath will be unveiled by Ms. Quackenbush and will be displayed next to our Field of Honor and 9/11 Memorial, which will serve as a reminder to the public to remember all of our veterans and heroes. At this time, I ask that you join in a moment of silence.
Thank you. As the social studies supervisor in this great community, the field of honor is something I take great pride in being part of. When I looked at our country in April, I realized we would be facing an uphill battle to have this ceremony this Veterans Day. As soon as the doors of Oyster Bay High School reopened, we began planning for this incredibly important event. While it may look different than in past years, the willingness of so many individuals to support this event, even during a pandemic, speaks volumes. With that being said, I'd like to thank our Board of Education, our Central Administration, Dr. Seinfeld, Dr. Mulhall, Ms. Freeman, Ms. Lasher, Mr. Leach, Ms. Manuzzo in our Building Administration, and Mr. Femino, our Interact Club, Ms. Mastrogiacomo, Ms. DeLuca, Mr. Sissia, and members of our band for helping make today a reality. A special thanks to Mr. Rispoli and the custodial staff for all their help in making today's ceremony possible and for creating our beautiful field of honor. And most importantly, we would like to thank our veterans here today for attending and for all that they've done to secure the freedoms that we all cherish. As you go home today and enjoy a day off from school tomorrow, please remember all of our veterans who have served and those who continue to serve. At this time, I would ask ninth period teachers to hold their classes until 2:20 p.m. And thank you for attending. Thank you.
Vacuum that way, drop everything off. Great job. Percussion, please put all drums in the back.